Second albums are funny things, aren't they? I subconsciously chose to go in a completely different direction and write a concept album where each song is a chapter and a story. So let's start at the beginning. Before I released my first album, Change, I wrote a song which really intrigued me. I didn't know what it was about. I seemed to be channeling a man who was lost and desperately trying to get home to his family. That song was Long Journey Home, which is track 9 on the album, I think. It just had such a different soul to anything else that I'd ever written. And, you know, because I normally write completely about myself, I really wanted to explore that idea further, and so I came up with a story because I wanted to feel what this character was going through and how he got to that point. Instead of the big colourful sounds of my debut album, Faces is more stripped back, though it does get to have its moments of fun. It was a challenge, as most of the songs were completely born from lyrics, and I had to wrap it all up and, you know, make it so the songs reference and rhyme with each other. Because I'd planned out this whole story, it meant that I had to stick to that, so I couldn't just abandon the song if I didn't like it. I had to just keep working at it. I wanted to add real sounds to this album to give it a universal feel, from the calming waves of Valley Church Beach in Antigua to a bunch of teenagers switching radio stations in a car. My family and some of my friends make cameos in the album as well, which just, I can't help but smile every time I hear them. I now realise as I'm finishing the album that it is about me to a certain extent. It's an older, exaggerated version of myself. The whole album is built around my own character flaws. I changed as a writer halfway through working on this album. I went through a kind of heartbreak, complicated classic stuff, and it made me put this album on pause, and instead I released the single Under Cloudy Skies, which will be part of my third album when I start working on that. Whatever it was, it made me a much stronger writer, and the songs in this album are the better for it. I was tempted to leave this album behind, but I had a lot of time to myself after losing my job, and I just went for it. I worked on the songs and made them the best that I could now that I had this fresh perspective, and managed to record half of the album in the space of 3 months, whereas normally it takes me about 3 months to release one song. But I'm very proud of what I've achieved and what the album's become, and I can't wait for you to hear it.
18 and free as the bell rings for the last time.
Invincible came from a bass riff which was central to a song called Lifeguard, which never made it onto my first album. I mashed it together with a long lyric draft that I'd written, and it sort of became more of a garage song. It works as a prelude and a fun start to the album.
Welcome to the start of the rest of our broken. Each friend, each face come and go. But somehow, along the way, oh, we lost touch.
Summer Nights is a gorgeous song, bittersweet. Looking back and then struggling to see where it all went wrong. I wrote the song as just a solo acoustic guitar and a vocal, but then I kind of boosted the tempo and spruced it up so that it helped the flow of the album more.
So don't let go.
No choruses, just moves from one stanza to the next, starting with an almost Bond theme vibe. It's the feeling of the world just turning cold around you when you get horrible news, and then rushing through all the emotions that you do when you go through that single moment in slow motion. It has this beautiful string section before the break, which I'll play just now. Then you have that break, you're suddenly so vulnerable before that awesome tempo push and kind of Spanish influence. It's just a rush, and then it suddenly turns guitar heavy and you get that great solo, and then all the questions at the end as it builds and builds. There's a great crescendo. One thing that I loved in Material World was I created a storm sound, which was just me sort of shaking my guitar around next to my amp, and it's used to kind of represent that even though so many things have gone wrong for him, there's something worse coming ahead. And I reused that sound in a new kind of blue, which is going to be when he does hit that moment where it's the absolute peak, and that is him in the storm, which was a really cool concept. It's one of my personal favourites that I've ever written.
Bleeding out from the dagger behind the cloak.
Forever Alone is just one of those songs that falls out of the sky. I'd been a terrible friend, I was being greedy and I wasn't thinking about my actions, and that inspired the song. I was in the car driving home from work, and that title just popped in my head, and immediately this melody and lyric kind of flooded my head, and I was just there having to hum it along the entire car journey home before I could get home, get on my phone and just hum into what I was thinking, and then try and figure out what I was hearing on the piano. Who am I to act like a clown? I had those two lines, which is kind of the hook of the song, immediately. So it was all built around that. Suitcase is a real cornerstone in the story of the album. It's so stripped back, bare bones, just direct and brutally honest. I love the way the bridge builds up to the explosive final chorus. Blank Page. Oh, Blank Page, the big anthem on the album. I spent an entire year working on that song. I mentioned earlier that I went through a sort of complicated heartache, heartbreak, whatever, and I wrote the song Under Cloudy Skies.
And so I'll roam, be alone under cloudy skies.
Well, I felt pressure after writing that song because I didn't know whether I was capable of writing a song as good as that again. I was obsessed with showing that I was okay with the breakdown of what had become a very toxic friendship. I wanted Blank Page to just be used as a middle finger to them. But as life has its ways, I was somehow enlightened and we patched things up and wounds were healed. The music video for Blank Page is even kind of a part 2 to that of Under Cloudy Skies. So I was always in two minds when I was writing it, because it had to serve me and it also had to serve the story of the album. As a standalone song, you can feel it's a really inspiring, energetic, kind of positive song. But in the context of the album, this is the most selfish move that this character makes.
Influenced by Coldplay, U2, people like that. I really, really like this. I think it's just got a kind of raw quality about it. So this is Edward Young and it's called Blank Page.
It was the first of my songs to make an appearance on the radio.
Edward Young, that's Blank Page on BBC.
So it was all worth it in the end, and I absolutely love that song. A New Kind of Blue was inspired by the Rick Rubin American Songbook albums Johnny Cash did. It's kind of the grit and dread. The character has changed at this point in the story. He's become hollow. Is the darkness around you or is it coming from within? That was kind of the concept that I wanted to play with. It's got some very cool things that I loved experimenting with. I mean, it was the first kind of country song I'd written, but things like the reverse delay, where, you know, I was using it to sort of bring this unhinged feeling to it. So like in the intro you hear voices, I had to shout help backwards, which is play or something like that, which is pretty funny having to do that over and over into a mic.
So it seems this sketch of a man broke down. You know he's gonna pay you back.
Wake Up came from the chord sequence that is played in the verses. I love the groove that it has, and the drums are sort of odd because they're sort of stuck between a swing and a shuffle. Much like other songs in the album, I sort of try to sing it a little differently to sort of bring out this broken man's voice.
Wake up inside.
Long Journey Home is the song that kicked it all off. I still hear it now as a mystery. The backing vocals humming is almost like a call to the light, to keep the character calm and get him home. I love the whole feel of it. The double-tracked vocals, the slow fade in and out, there's just something about it.
Take me home.
Faces was one of the first songs that I wrote for the album. I wanted to keep pushing that "don't want to push you away" as the central message. Eventually, as the album came together, that became more of a phrase that was filled with attitude, meaning I didn't mean to push you away. It's almost a review of everything that has happened and explaining to his family that he has this new lease of life. The idea that every face you meet affects you in some way. I'll Be There is a sweet song, cheesy as it's the happy ending that it needs to be. It's a classic Edward Young pop song, with shades of light and dark. I originally wrote this song as an apology to a very close friend after we had a big falling out.
If you're crushed by a heart as black as coal, just look through the windows of your soul. I'll be there.
It was a long piano-led tune, and I think I must have written about 50 different verses for it, like the amount of rewrites that song went through. When I came back to actually recording it and putting it as part of the album, I knew that I wanted it to sound pretty and sparkly, like this was the real blank page. And something actually really quite nice I like in it. After the final chorus in that song, you hear the guitar playing the main melody hook from Blank Page. Play that now. Which is sweet. It's a song that just feels like being reassured by a loved one and then being hugged and wrapped up in cotton wool, telling them that everything's going to be okay.
Somehow we can find a way, no matter what I say. Always find, bitterness will be replaced.
Find a Way is another one of those songs that just came completely out of nowhere. It was inspired by me feeling really positive about a complicated relationship I had with someone. I only made sense of it by simplifying it and just saying, it doesn't matter what we're going to go through, we'll always find a way. I wanted to repeat that over and over as the grand finale on the album, make it more of a prayer.
When you found your rose, were you hurt by a prick? It's not what I do, it's the words that stick.
And I think it echoes throughout the rest of the album, especially as Blank Page references this song when it says,
She said we'll find a way through thick and thin.
which of course is one of the ad-libs at the end of Find a Way.
To make it through thick and thin.
Most of it was written so quickly. It was over the space of a few days. I just had a few lines. I just wanted to sing my heart out.
Hey, always finds it. Yeah, bitterness will be replaced. Always finds it. Change must be embraced.
The crescendo with the choir at the end, it's the most uplifting thing that I've written so far.
'Cause we're so much more than we
Thank you so much for listening to me over the years and listening to this album that I've poured my life into over the last 3.5-4 years. It really does mean the world that you're listening to these mini 3-minute therapy sessions. I've always used my writing for introspection, and I hope that in its own way it's somehow helped you too. I should feel exhausted, but to be honest, I just can't wait to get writing new stuff, fresh ideas.